how to remove your Après nail extensions using a hand file and an electric file, as well as soaking off the remainder with acetone. So if you'd like to see that, keep on watching. Alright, so first things first, I'm going to remove my Après nail extensions. What I'll do first is start by removing the length as well as the color. As you can see underneath, my nails are quite long. I like to keep them as long as I can, so I'm going to try to avoid cutting my natural nail and just really get that extra tip off. So I start by cutting them, and then I'll go in and remove all the color and prepare it for soak off. To cut these off, you can use regular nail cutters, or you can use your tip cutters. I'm going to use my tip cutters in this video. I haven't done it very often, so I just wanted to do it today. Sorry, my mask is on and it's making my voice very muffled. Okay, so I'm going to be mindful of my natural nail growth underneath here. I don't want to get that, so I'm just going to go in like this and cut off the majority of the tip. And this could be more beneficial for people who are not trying to keep their natural nail length underneath, to use the tip cutters. If you're trying to keep them on like me, it may be easier to use nail cutters because you can kind of go in and get those corners. This way, because this gets in the way, this little round safety piece, you kind of can't get as close as you want without cutting, so keep that in mind. All right, so now that the length has been cut, I'm gonna go in and file off the color. So you can do this two ways. Obviously, I'm a professional nail technician, so I will be using my e-file. I use it more often than not, but I will show you just as an example how to do this if you don't have an electric file. So you're gonna take a decently coarse nail file, hand file. This one side is 180 grit and the other side is 100 grit. Obviously the 100 grit is the one that's coarser in grit. So this is the side that you're gonna use to remove the majority of the gel color. So I'll show you how I would do this manually. So what you can do also, if you have one like this that is curved, you can use that curved side against the nail so that you're kind of following the cuticle. So I'll just start by removing, and I follow the natural curve of the nail. So usually I put my nail dust collector on, but because I'm speaking, it gets very loud and it's hard to hear me and I end up yelling. And the camera is still very close to me, so I don't want to blow your ears out. But yeah, normally I would put this on. Just right now, it's mainly just to catch any dust, not really to suck it in. All right, so as you see that I'm actually taking off all of the color, all of the art, everything. Oh, that's unfortunate. Let me just mute that. Okay. I'm taking off everything so that you can see the clear tip underneath. And you can do this as well if you're removing gel polish at home. Really just buff off as much as you can without over filing the natural nail until you get to the base coat. Okay, I'm gonna go around this way. And again, I'm really avoiding the skin. I don't wanna be cutting into my skin. That can cause a lot of pain and unnecessary damage. Of course, when you're doing it on yourself, you know, trial and error, there is a bit of a learning curve when it comes to doing this on yourself. It is quite difficult, to be honest. It's easier to do it on clients. So, especially if you're learning, it's fine if you hurt yourself. I mean, it's a good way to learn, to know your pressure and your angles and stuff like that. But try to avoid it if you can, of course. Okay, I'm gonna go down the barrel. Okay, I'm just gonna take my duster just so I can see what I'm doing. Okay, so I did take the majority off. There is still a little bit there. You can still see that nude color, but it's not like a thick layer. So I've done the majority of the work, and that's fine. At this point, what I would do is you can actually see that there's still some of the tip there. Taking the 180 grit side of my file, I'll shave that down. It just facilitates the soak off process. You know where your nail is, you know what to remove and everything like that. It just kind of makes it a lot easier. But of course, I don't want to be filing my natural nail because I want to keep that length. So I'm just removing that little excess amount of tip. And then from this point, you can just go ahead and soak. First though, I'm going to show you the remainder of the nails, how to do this with an electric file. As you may know, this is what the hand bit looks like. This is the Erica's ATA ProTech T300 e-file. Goes up to 30,000 RPMs. And to remove bulk, you're gonna wanna use a bit that is cut out for that, a bit that's made for that. You don't wanna use something like a cuticle bit because it really won't do the work for you. So I'm going to use this one. This is the Willow Academy Bluebell bit. This one's really good too. It does kind of get more product off, but I don't want to get too much off and file through the tip. I just like this one more for some removals because it does glide off like butter. So when I do this, I really put my e-file to the highest speed. All right. What I'll do is I'll concentrate on getting the same thing I did before, just by getting the color off. But the benefit of doing it with an e-file, if you're, if you have one and if you're trained on using one, is really that you can actually remove thin layers of the extension at the same time. So it does facilitate the soak off process. You're not going to be soaking off for as long as if you were doing this manually. Okay, so the next step is to soak off. So what I'll do is I'll grab my acetone. I'll grab these are pre-made soak off like wipes, like wraps, soak off wipes. Sorry, I said it again, soak off wraps. You can do this with aluminum foil and a nail wipe. I just prefer having them pre-done. It's so much easier for me, especially that I don't always have the time to cut them myself. And I'm going to be using nail clips. These just really help keep the heat inside, and it really helps speed up the process. Oh my goodness, ignore all of that grossness underneath my nail. It's going to be gone soon. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll take my nail wrap. I'll get some acetone on there. And I'll wrap one nail at a time. This can be tricky doing it on yourself though, for sure. Okay. Doesn't have to be cute. It's difficult for it to look cute. Okay, and just keep doing that on all nails. Make sure that the nail wipe is well saturated with acetone. You want to make sure that you don't have to go in like, you know, 5-10 times just to soak off when you've done the majority of the work anyway. Now you're gonna let this sit for between 5 and 10 minutes. Obviously the first round, you're gonna wanna leave it on for the better half of the time. So I'm gonna say 10 minutes just to be safe. Once that's done, you can go in and start removing the product and we'll go from there. All right, so it's been about 10 minutes. At this point, I'm gonna take them off one by one and work on one nail at a time. So I'll start with the thumb. I'll just slip it off. Okay, try to get the best angle here. So you're gonna need a cuticle pusher, definitely one with a side that, you know, is wide enough to remove the product. And you're just going to lightly scrape off whatever is loose. You don't wanna put too much pressure. The point is not to get it all off right now. Because we will go back in if we need to and soak for another 5 minutes. And that will really ensure that you're removing everything from the nail, or as much as you want really, because it's not harmful to keep some gel on. And you could just leave this for like 15 to 20 minutes in one shot. I like doing this in steps. Whoops, whoops. You could lose some of those too. All right, what you can also do to encourage the removal is take your nail file again with the 100 grit side and lightly buff the top layer. And this just will like kind of roll it off, whatever's lifted. So I'm gonna let this soak for another 5 minutes, and then I'll repeat the steps that I just did to remove the remainder of the gel left on the nail, the remainder of the extension left on the nail. Like I said, you can leave some gel on if it doesn't bother you. I tend to do that and then just make sure that I buff it out so that it's still flush and level, and then I'll just apply my product over that. It's not necessary to completely remove all the gel. You know, there are reasons why you could potentially, but for me in this case, I really don't need to, and I'm definitely applying product over it, so it's not a problem. You can just leave a little bit here and there, really not a big deal. So I'm gonna let this sit for another 5 minutes, and then we're gonna come back and remove the remainder of the gel. Okay, so it's been about 5 more minutes, and I'm going to start with the thumb again, one finger at a time, and do the same thing I did before and just push off any gel that is left behind. All right, so once that's done, I'm just gonna go in with a buffer to make sure that the remainder of the gel that I've left behind from the builder I had on before is just level and flush with the nail, just because I don't want it to become bumpy. And there you have it. Now you're ready to prep your nails and continue with your product application. So really, I just showed you the removal of the Après tips, but not the complete removal of the gel that I have underneath, because my nails are very fragile and I just like to keep a little layer of gel under there. Even though I'll be reapplying, it's just kind of to reinforce the growth, because that's where I get that's kind of like the weakest part of the nail. So it's very flexible if I don't have any product on it. So that's the end product. It's very simple to do. It just takes patience and the right tools. And it's definitely doable yourself at home if need be, or if you're doing it on yourself and you're a professional as well. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.